A very good morning to all the students. In the last class, we discussed about our environment, where we discussed ecosystem, types of ecosystem, all right? We even discussed about biological magnification. We discussed about food chain, food web, 10% law, all right? Now, today let us talk about man and its environment. Well, talking about human beings, or rather talking about biotic and abiotic components, alright, we are all interdependent on each other. It is basically, if anything happens to the biotic component, abiotic components, alright, the stress will come into the environment. We are already aware of human beings who are the topmost in the trophic level, alright, and their needs and their greeds are never ending. So what we are doing is, somehow or the other, we are affecting the environment. Our greed is affecting the ecological balance. The ecological balance is getting disturbed. How is it getting disturbed? Well, if I'm dependent on the environment, so I become very selfish and I don't even focus on what harm am I causing to the environment. So it results in environmental pollution, alright. Other than that, it results in ozone depletion, alright. So, today we are going to talk about, or rather we are going to complete two important topics of our environment. First is ozone depletion and the second one is how to manage the waste, alright. So let us start with the first topic, which is ozone depletion. Well student, if we talk about the formula for ozone, it is O3, alright. Ozone is a topic which we have studied since our junior class, where if we talk about the previous knowledge, we discussed that ozone layer is very, very important for us because it protects us from harmful UV radiation, right? So this particular thing, if you are going to ask any of the student, I probably think they all will agree with that. Alright. So let us discuss some more thing about ozone. Ozone is basically a gas which occurs naturally in the Earth's atmosphere. If you look at chemically, as I said, it is O3. Chemically, ozone is O3, alright, and it means that it is formed of how many atoms? It is formed of 3 oxygen atoms. So 3 oxygen atoms basically makes your ozone, alright. Other than that, students, in contrast, if you compare, this ozone is a deadly poison for them, though oxygen is essential for most of the living organism, but on the other hand, this ozone is a deadly poison to the living organism. Okay, now why so? But fortunately, much of the ozone in the atmosphere is found at a very high above the ground. So that means, where is it found? This ozone is not present at the equator, rather it is present on the above the ground. Alright. So this is confined to mostly 20 to 35 km above the ground in the stratosphere. More ozone, if you see, they are more commonly found in the polar region, alright. So this ozone is basically present in the polar region, more commonly present in the polar region, over the polar region than over the equator. In a high level of atmosphere, ozone is produced by the action of UV radiation. Now how does ozone formation takes place? Let us see this. So this UV light, alright, ultraviolet light rays, they split oxygen, alright. Oxygen, it is a gas, 21% present in the atmosphere. So this O2 is basically split apart. They are going to split this oxygen atom, alright, and they are present, O plus O. They are act as a free radical now. Now another oxygen combines with this free radical and it results in the formation of ozone. Alright, it results in the formation of ozone. Alright. Now, next one is interesting to note, ozone also breaks down in this region of the atmosphere again quite naturally. The rate of formation and breakdown of ozone were almost equal until about 4 decades ago, but therefore the amount of ozone in the high atmosphere remains constantly, alright. So the rate at which it is being produced, that's almost constant, but the amount of ozone in the atmosphere, it basically began to drop in the year 1980s. Well student, over the Antarctica there was a hole which was observed, alright, and that was a concern for all the people because the UV radiation may enter from that zone, and this is what is called. So in 1985 it was first observed over the Antarctica. It was dropping considerably, and this is called depletion of ozone. So this is called depletion of ozone. We can easily compare it with an umbrella. Alright, just like if I'm out in the rainy season and I'm holding an umbrella, alright, it protects us from the rain. What happens if my umbrella gets a hole in between? The rain will penetrate inside and it will make me wet. So similarly, this ozone acts as a shield around us. Alright, this layer acts as a shield around us, due to which UV rays are prevented. Alright, fine. Now moving ahead, let us see ozone is broken down. So what makes, basically, how come human activities, now you must be thinking, ma'am, we are not even passing UV light. How come this ozone formation, human being plays an important role in the formation of it, or depletion of ozone layer? Basically, this ozone is getting broken down by a chemical called CFC. CFC means chlorofluorocarbon. Alright, now what is so special about this CFC? They are very stable molecules and they are unreactive molecules. Alright, they are unreactive molecules. These synthetic, non-poisonous chemicals, they are responsible for the depletion of ozone. Now the question arises, where are we going to use these CFCs? CFCs, they are mostly used as coolants. Alright, in the refrigerator. They are even used as air conditioner. They are even used as a fire extinguisher. They are even used as aerosol propellants, and they are also used as foam in the packaging material. Alright. Now, steps taken to limit this damage. Well, students, in 1987 there was an agreement which was made by different countries under the guidance of United Nations Environment Programme. So, what was that program? It was to freeze the production of CFC by the year 1986. Alright, because we were using CFC at a very rapid stage, because it was being used at these places. So we need to freeze the use of CFC by the year 1986. This was called basically Montreal Protocol. So this was called Montreal Protocol, which was signed by various countries in the year 1987. Alright. So this was Montreal Protocol signed by different countries, 1987. Subsequently, many more efforts have been made and protocols have laid down definite roadmaps for reducing the emission of ozone depletion chemicals. So one of them is Kyoto Protocol. Alright, one is Montreal Protocol and the other one is Protocol. Alright, now Kyoto Protocol, fine. Now, what is the role of ozone layer? We know that it protects us from harmful UV radiation, alright? And of course, this UV light has an issue because it directly damages our DNA. Once it directly damages our DNA, so we may suffer from skin cancer, we may also suffer from cataract, alright? It not only harms human beings, in fact it also harms the plants, alright, animals, and even the non-living things like statues, monuments, even they are getting affected by this ozone. Okay? These UV, right, indirectly they are going to cause this all. So, therefore it is our duty to do something constructive to check the ozone layer depletion. So, what we can do is we have to stop the use of CFC. Well, student, for your information, now we are not going to use CFC anymore. In fact, now these CFCs are replaced by HCFC, that is hydrochlorofluorocarbons. Alright, though they are also equally harmful, but if we compare them with the CFC, they are quite useful. Alright, they also harm the environment, but not to that extent. Alright, now moving ahead, let's talk about another and the last topic of the chapter, which is garbage management. Garbage management, we know that we believe in producing different type of waste, right? These plastic materials attract us towards them, and the waste, we can see the heap of waste in our environment. Well, student, we have already discussed about different R's in our classes, previous classes. It is not only 3 R's now: reduce, reuse, recycle. In fact, we also come across refuse, which says no to plastics, and we also go ahead with repurpose, where we can actually utilize these non-biodegradable waste again. Alright, now let's talk about why should we emphasize on these R's. Let us see about advantages of recycling first. We know that it reduces the need to exploit the new supplies of a resource, alright, and eventually the energy requirement is low if we recycle any product as compared to fresh production of any product, alright. It also causes less pollution and it also reduces the total volume of waste. So that is why we need to emphasize on recycle. Fine. When we talk about management of waste at domestic level, alright, equally at a home kitchen waste, alright, that causes it contains lots of stuff inside it which is not good for us at any cost. So why is it so? If I'm going to dump any, now you must be thinking, if the waste is biodegradable, that means it can easily be decomposed by microorganism. Now if that waste I'm going to dump in the open ground, so what will happen? It will be a breeding ground for mosquitoes, breeding ground for insects, and a foul smell, alright, and eventually it will also spread infectious disease. So we have to dump these waste. So the first thing at the domestic waste becomes, we need to sort out the waste as biodegradable or non-biodegradable. Secondly, we can even go for preparation of compost. Alright, and third one, of course, biogas production. Alright, that is very, very important here. Biogas production can be done by using different type of waste material. That is again biodegradable waste. And of course, if the manure is produced out of these waste, alright, so these manure can be used in the plantation if we go for any kind of community park. Alright, it also protects us from infectious diseases. Alright, like moving ahead, we have incineration. Well student, if it is infectious waste like hospital waste which cannot be dumped so easily outside, so incineration is one of the best modes. So what we do here, we burn our waste at a high degree temperature, that is more than 1000 degrees Celsius. And second one is landfill. Landfills are basically the low-lying areas, alright, which are covered by the earth. So basically if you look into the outside, if you look into the outskirts area, so whenever we see a low-lying area, we just put the waste inside it and then we equally, we can cover it by earth. And the last one is sewage treatment. We know that different type of waste coming from the home, alright, sewage. This sewage needs to be treated very well, and we have already discussed about primary treatment, biological treatment, tertiary treatment in our junior classes, alright. So this all has to go ahead, and that's how we'll be able to manage the waste. So this is the end of the chapter, our environment. Thank you and have a nice day.